it was meant to be a toy. And I was just dribbling, and I remember him saying, "Hey, you got some skills." And I said, "Okay," And so he told me to go try out. I'm from Detroit. It's a PAL League, Police Athletic League, I think is what it stood for. And I went and I tried out, and I was always a taller kid, taller than most kids. So they had an A team and a B team, and I ended up making an A team. Now, this was literally my first time playing ball. I didn't have experience, none of that stuff. So there was a lot of kids there that were, in my opinion, a lot better or further along than I had been. But even though I still made the A team, but I didn't get a lot of playing time. And so I had got sick, I think, a little bit into the season. And the way it worked at that time, you would have practice, like, I think twice a week or something like that. So if you get sick and you sick for a week, you're going to miss a whole week of practice. So that's what happened. I missed a week of practice. So when I went back to practice, the coach was like, well, I got to put you on the B team. And I remember I was distraught, man. Like, I remember vividly, like, being very, very distraught. Like, I wouldn't quit. And, I just thought, like, I wasn't good enough. I'm 9 years old. I didn't really understand the rejection. And so my aunt had taken me to practice that day. And so I came back outside, like, before she left, and, crying and telling me I wanted to quit. And she was like, why? And I'm like, because I got put on the B team and, this and that. And she said, well, that's fine. You go on the B team and prove that you belong on the A team. And I'm like, no, I suck and I'm this and that. So we had to talk, and she said, if you quit now, you're going to be quitting the rest of your life. So if this is something you want to do, you might as well go ahead and face the music and play on the B team. And long story short, she wouldn't take me home neither, So I went back in there, and I played on the B team, and I got a lot more playing time. And then, when I got home, obviously I had a conversation with my mom too, and everybody was just, on me like, if this is what you want to do, you got to do it, work hard, yada, yada, yada. And so I finished that year out on the B team, and I took a year off the following year. So now that was fourth grade going into fifth grade. I didn't play any organized. And I just worked, like I would dribble outside. I mean, just being a kid. But I was really motivated to get better because it stung me. And I wanted to prove to that coach, that I could play. So when I got to sixth grade, tried out for the school team, made that team. And then actually that year I was MVP of the team. And then, seventh grade played, eighth grade played, had a really good eighth grade year. A lot of high schools were recruiting me, to go to their school. And I ended up going to a school first. And now these go to the mistakes I think I've made. So I went to a school that was like a traditional powerhouse. It was a private school, but it was a traditional powerhouse, like great coach, everything. And I was upset that I didn't play varsity as a freshman, right? And the problem was not, and the coach told me this too. Like, what he said, it's not that you're not good enough to play varsity. Is that I don't want to put you on varsity and you sit the bench. Like, what's the point? You need to play. Right. As a 14-year-old, I didn't want to hear that. Like, no, I want to play varsity. So, what the funny part is, I let that mentally, it messed me up so bad that I actually had a pretty subpar year on JV. Like, I was like one of the last cuts on varsity, so I should have been one of the better players on JV. But because I was stuck on the part that I didn't make varsity, it just messed me up. You know what I mean? So I had a friend of mine who he was transferring to public school league in Detroit back in, you're talking about mid to late 90s now. The public school was it. That's where Tractor Trailer, Mo Taylor, Jalen Rose, Leonard, all those guys played in the public school league. So the public school league was, that's where it was at.
That's where you want to be.
Yeah, exactly. So that summer, I was hanging around with this, my particular friend all summer, going to different parks and stuff. Him and his dad would come get me. And, I'm not gonna say they talked me into it because that'll take ownership of myself. But the idea of it was planted in my head. And so I decided to transfer and go to the public school league. And I had to sit out my the beginning of my sophomore year. So I played the second half of my sophomore year. And I remember I hit the floor running. Like I went there, I did well. I remember when we first played, coach was telling my mom, like, this kid gonna have a chance to, play somewhere. And so I had a decent sophomore year. I definitely played varsity. Started, I played well. But my junior year was probably my coming out party. That's like, when people started to know who I was and, kind of make a name for myself a little bit. But, again, this is another mistake. I was always a kid that I could do the work. The work was not hard to me at all. But that was the problem. I got bored and I did not like school. Now, with that being said, like I was passing, I had, I was always eligible. I was never ineligible, but that effort, the core classes, I had no idea about. Like the core classes versus just the regular classes, I had no idea about that. So long story short, usually in basketball, people kind of start to pick where they're going the junior summer. Okay, these, I was getting recruited by Tennessee. My first letter I ever got was from Penn State. I was excited about that. First letter I ever got was from Penn State. Toledo, UMKC, a ton. Like I got a box that I kept, like just, for my kids in case they ever try to say I can't play. Like, look, I got all this stuff. But I really thought I was going to go to UMKC, Missouri, Kansas City. And long story short, I wasn't qualified through the NCAA because I had the grades, but I didn't have the test score. No, I didn't have the test score, and my test score did not match the grades that I needed. Like back then you had to get a 17, but you also had to have a certain GPA in the core classes, and I didn't have the core classes. You know what I mean? I didn't have a GPA in the core classes. Yeah. So my mom had got me a tutor for the ACT. And, I went, and I'm not even gonna lie to you, T. Again, this is me being transparent. Like, I didn't really try. You know what I mean? My mama paid money, and I went, but like, I remember one time we had open gym. Like, it was funny because the class was, like, after school. And so I went to the class, and we had open gym, like, let's say an hour later. And I left the testing to go to open gym. You know what I mean? Like, hey man, you gotta right. So long story short, I did not get qualified. Literally did not get qualified. So 1997, I graduated high school. I think it was June 9th, I think was the date. I literally got qualified June